The Democrats, big government, buffet all you can waste. Democrats love big government. They adore it, they cherish it, and they can't seem to get enough of it. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet, but instead of food, it's filled with taxpayer dollars. They pile their plates high, and then they come back for seconds, thirds, and even fourths. It's a never-ending feast of public funds. They crave it. They need it like a junkie needs a fix. The sight of all that money makes their eyes light up with a crazed, desperate hunger. They can't resist the allure of more power, more control, and more opportunities to spend, spend, spend. And why not? Big government means more power. It means standing at the podium, giving powerful speeches and making grand gestures. It means being the center of attention, the one calling the shots, the one with the power to shape the future. More power means more control. It means shaking hands, making deals, and controlling the narrative. It means being in the control room, watching everything unfold and knowing that you have the power to influence it all. It means having a confident expression, knowing that you hold the reins. And more control means more taxpayer money to spread around like confetti at a gender reveal party gone wrong. It's a celebration of excess, a festival of waste where money falls from the sky and politicians throw it around with reckless abandon. They celebrate their power, their control, and their ability to spend without consequence. But here's the kicker. Democrats don't care one bit about how that money is spent. Waste, fraud, mismanagement, who cares? As long as their cronies and special interests are getting a taste, it's all good in the swampy hood. They ignore the paperwork, dismiss the concerns, and surround themselves with waste, all in the name of big government. They hand out money to businessmen, cozy up to lobbyists, and operate in a swampy government office where the rules don't seem to apply. It's a system built on favoritism, cronyism, and a complete disregard for the taxpayer. Enter Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Finally, a breath of fresh air in the stifling atmosphere of bureaucratic bloat. Musk, with his innovative spirit and relentless drive for efficiency, brings a new hope to the fight against fiscal insanity. His vision for a leaner, more effective government is a stark contrast to the wasteful practices of the past. With DOGE, we see the cutting of red tape, cutting of wasteful spending, and removal of irrelevant positions that did nothing but waste tax dollars. It's a revolution in government, a move towards accountability and responsibility. But do the Democrats applaud this noble effort? Do they embrace the change and welcome the efficiency? Of course not. They're clutching their pearls and shaking their heads in disapproval. They stand with crossed arms, resistant to any change that threatens their power and control. They yell, they protest, and they look angry at the very idea of efficiency and accountability. They see DOGE as a threat to their way of life, a challenge to their authority. Why? Because DOGE threatens their precious gravy train. It threatens the endless flow of money that they have come to rely on. They protect it like a treasure with greedy expressions and a fierce determination to keep the status quo. And folks, they are not letting go without a fight. They engage in heated debates, they fight tooth and nail, and they wear determined expressions as they battle to maintain their grip on power. The fight for efficiency and accountability is far from over. But with DOGE, there is hope for a brighter, more responsible future. Let's talk about Maxine Waters for a second, the same Maxine Waters who once said, "I don't want to go to work every day, I want to stay here and fight Republicans." Yes, that Maxine Waters. This is the woman who practically choked on her dentures when she heard about DOGE. She sees waste and fraud in government. Please, this is a woman who probably thinks a balanced budget is something you order at a vegan restaurant. Maxine, honey, let's be real. You and your Democrat pals are the kings and queens of government waste and corruption. You've turned it into an art form, a masterpiece of fiscal irresponsibility, and you have the audacity to lecture us about saving money? And then there's Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut who probably thinks the IRS is a cuddly teddy bear. He's been on a Twitter tirade against DOGE, calling it a vanity project and a waste of taxpayer money. Senator Murphy, let's get a few things straight. First, Elon Musk is putting his own money where his mouth is, unlike you, who's perfectly content to throw taxpayer dollars at any problem, real or imagined. Second, DOGE is not about wasting money, it's about saving it. It's about making government actually work for the American people. But that's the last thing you and your Democrat cronies want, isn't it? You'd rather protect the corrupt bureaucracy, the inefficient systems, and the endless waste. Because let's face it, that's where your bread is buttered. Section 4, Pocahontas and the irony of fighting efficiency. And who could forget about Elizabeth Warren, the self-proclaimed champion of the little guy? The senator from Massachusetts has long positioned herself as the voice of the voiceless, the defender of the downtrodden, and the relentless warrior against the evils of corporate America. The same Elizabeth Warren who built her career on fighting corporate greed and waste. Yes, the very same. She has grilled CEOs, lambasted Wall Street, and made it her mission to expose the excesses and inefficiencies of big business. The irony here is thicker than a bowl of clam chowder. Warren, who has always prided herself on her ability to sniff out and combat waste, now finds herself in a peculiar position. She's railing against the very thought of cutting out the fraud and waste in government. This is a woman who made a name for herself by exposing wasteful spending and corporate shenanigans. Her reports and speeches have been filled with tales of corporate excess, of CEOs with golden parachutes, and of companies that prioritize profits over people. Yet, when it comes to the biggest, most bloated corporation of them all, the US government, she suddenly loses her appetite for reform. The federal government, with its sprawling bureaucracy and endless red tape, seems to escape her scrutiny. Could it be that Pocahontas is more interested in protecting the status quo? Even if it means siding with the swamp creatures she claims to despise? It's a question worth pondering. After all, it's one thing to go after private corporations, but quite another to take on the entrenched interests of Washington, D.C. It's enough to make you wonder if she traded in her peace pipe for a lifetime supply of lobbyist-funded canapés. The very people she once railed against now seem to be her closest allies. It's a twist of fate that would be amusing if it weren't so disheartening. So, what are we to make of this transformation? Is it a case of political pragmatism? Was Warren simply saying what she needed to get votes? The answer is clear. If you're not fighting the corruption, you are part of it. In the end, Elizabeth Warren's journey from crusader against corporate greed to defender of the corruption serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and contradictions of modern politics. It's a tale of ambition, fraud, and yes, irony. And that, dear viewers, is the story of Pocahontas and the irony of fighting efficiency. Section 5, the New York Times Pravda on the Hudson. The New York Times, often hailed as the pinnacle of journalistic integrity, has a storied history, but in recent years its reputation has taken a hit, especially among those who see it as a mouthpiece for a particular agenda. And let's not forget about the rest of the mainstream media, those self-appointed guardians of truth and justice. They claim to be the arbiters of what is right and wrong, but their biases are often glaringly obvious. The New York Times in particular stands out for its relentless pursuit of narratives that fit its worldview. The New York Times in particular has been working overtime to smear Doge and anyone associated with it. Their articles are crafted with precision, designed to sway public opinion and cast doubt on the legitimacy of Doge. It's not just about reporting the news, it's about shaping it. They've published hit piece after hit piece, filled with more spin than a Beyoncé concert. Each article is a masterclass in selective reporting, highlighting only the negatives and conveniently ignoring any positives. It's a strategy that has worked for them in the past, but the cracks are beginning to show. But here's the thing, they haven't been able to refute a single fact that Doge has presented. Despite their best efforts, the truth has a way of coming to light. The data and evidence supporting Doge are robust, and no amount of spin can change that. They can't deny the waste. The inefficiencies in the system are glaringly obvious, and no amount of editorializing can hide that. The public is becoming more aware of where their tax dollars are going, and they're not happy about it. Scandals and corruption have plagued the system for years, and the evidence is overwhelming. The New York Times can try to downplay it, but the facts speak for themselves. They can't deny the need for reform. The calls for change are growing louder, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. People are demanding accountability and transparency, and they're not willing to settle for anything less. Because deep down they know Doge is right. The arguments are compelling, and the evidence is irrefutable. Even those who are skeptical can't help but acknowledge the validity of the points being made, but admitting that would mean admitting that Trump was right. And for many in the mainstream media, that's a bridge too far. Their disdain for Trump is well documented, and acknowledging his successes would undermine their entire narrative. And we can't have that, can we? The media's credibility is on the line, and they're willing to go to great lengths to protect it. But in doing so, they're only further eroding the trust of the public. After all, their entire business model is built on hating Trump and everything he stands for. It's a lucrative strategy, but it's also a precarious one. They have received millions of taxpayer dollars from the government and don't want to lose their place at the buffet. Section 6 GAO report, a wake-up call ignored by the swamp. The Government Accountability Office released a report in 2023 that should send chills down the spine of every taxpayer. It revealed billions upon billions of dollars wasted through government incompetence, fraud, and abuse. Estimates are between $233 billion and $521 billion annually to fraud. This wasn't some partisan hack job either. This was the GAO, the non-partisan watchdog of Congress, sounding the alarm. Did the Biden administration spring into action demanding accountability and reform? Of course not. They buried the report faster than you can say Hunter Biden's laptop. Why? Because they're up to their eyeballs in the swamp, and they like it that way. In conclusion, Democrats cannot have it both ways. They are either against waste and fraud sucking up taxpayer dollars, or they are for it. Hell, the Democrats are even defending the IRS, the one federal agency with a lower approval rating than the Democrats. Keep defending the waste, fraud, corruption, and the people in charge of enforcing the theft from American citizens. You will never win another election. This is what America voted for. In other words, if an agency is not related to one of the powers granted to Congress in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it is on the chopping block. As far as that goes, if the agency in question has a state-run equivalent, it needs to be shut down. Either you're fighting the fraud and corruption, or you are part of it. We, the people, are pissed off watching our hard-earned money going to things that have no direct effect on the lives of American citizens. Taxation is theft, plain and simple, and when we see it go to things like condoms in Gaza or transgender frog studies, it pisses us off. You lost the election, it's time for you to sit down and shut up. Right now, this is the easy way. The way the government has been run is unsustainable. Either get out of the way or get run over. You lost, get over it. You don't want to see this done the hard way. The time has come for a reckoning, a return to fiscal responsibility and accountability. America demands it, and we will not be silenced. The swamp may try to ignore the wake-up call, but the voice of the people is louder than ever. Will you listen, or will you be swept away by the tide of change? The choice is yours. The mandate is clear. Restore integrity or face the consequences.